Excuse me, are you Mr. Lele?
Yeah, please sit down.
You are?
Yeah.
My name's Riaan. I recognize you. Are you the man that does the cycling tours through Europe?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
You do those long distances. You travel on the bicycle.
Yeah. I did some trips on bicycle in Europe.
How
around 500 k's.
500 kilometers.
Yeah, you can also do it.
Wow.
You can do it.
I've done some journeys. The reason I recognize you is because I have done some cycling myself.
Yeah.
I've gone with a bicycle. I started in Cape Town and I went around the coastline of Africa, all the way around. It was 57,000 kilometers. It was a journey I did in 2003. 2 years it took me to do that journey.
On bicycle?
On a bicycle, all alone. But then afterwards I went in a kayak and I went to Madagascar. You know Madagascar's on the east coast in the Indian Ocean?
Yeah.
All the way around the whole of Madagascar, 5,000 kilometers.
In kayak?
In a kayak alone. But you won't believe then what I did was with my wife or my girlfriend at the time, I took her to New York in a small rowing boat. Are you okay, Mr. Lele? Mr. Lele? Are you okay?
Oh my God.
Are you okay?
Are you Riaan Manser?
I am Riaan Manser, yes.
Oh my God. काय ॲथलीट बरोबर मला भेटायला मिळतंय आणि काय मी येडारका वागतोय. Oh my God, what a pleasure!
Please, it is my pleasure.
What a pleasure, yeah. I've been waiting for this meeting for so long. And it's my pleasure and privilege to have word with you. And first tell me about your childhood, because you must be passionate about sports and athleticism, everything.
Very much. You know, the thing I tell people if I'm in audiences, I tell them one thing that saved me as a child, because I didn't come from a rich family or from a privileged family. I always tell people I am so grateful for one thing, and that was sport. From every single sport that I could play, I did. Cricket, rugby, tennis, squash, running, athletics, shot put, discus, athletics, everything. And I'm so grateful what sport's given me.
Before embarking on this huge journey of going through African continent, you must have done some homework and some preparation. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the preparation was difficult. At the time in 2001 and 2002, there were a lot of wars on the African continent, and I was trying to prepare like a clever person to make sure that I wouldn't die, number one. And number two, I needed the visas. And Africa is a very big continent. I couldn't get one visa beforehand. And I couldn't guarantee that I would be safe, but I did a lot of preparation. I think physically I was ready, but I don't think I was ready mentally. I wasn't prepared for what was lying ahead.
So was it like stamina or risk of your life?
It was definitely a risk of my life, which I learned later on I was brave for. But if you had told me beforehand the kids in Liberia were going to capture me, Al-Qaeda was going to catch me in Algeria, I would have said, nope, I'm not going. But I'm so glad that I was brave to just go. Because I don't now have good stories because I was prepared for those situations. It's because I was unprepared for them. And that was beautiful about it. I love talking to children now in schools, and I talk to the children, and when I share my stories, I see their eyes go so big, and they just want to be me and want to do what I do.
We have heard about some stories that you were captured by militants and young people who were holding guns and all. Tell us about that experience, as well as tell us about some good experience, because we always can you share some of
course, the story of Liberia is one that the world knows because of the movie Blood Diamond. And people know the war, what was going on, and it was a crazy place. It's the best way I can describe it. Getting closer to Liberia, there were no adults, there was no discipline, it was just chaos, there was no electricity, there was no governance, there was no control. The children had guns and knives, and the villages I could get away from were okay. The ones where they tackled me and captured me was where I realized that I was going to die. They wanted to steal my bicycle and steal what I had, and fortunately, one whole day with them, they calmed down towards the end of the day and let me go. And that was probably the worst moment. But the good moments, isn't it amazing how many people in the world love cycling? So if I met you first, we could meet each other and I could talk to you about my country, you could talk about your country, but if I ask you, do you like cycling, something connects us immediately. And
I call it as a C blood group people.
Yes, definitely.
Cricket, cycling is a C plus blood group.
It is, definitely. And for me, I've met some people that I couldn't believe. In Algeria, I met this man that had a big family, but his love was cycling. I met an Egyptian man on the Red Sea who he told me where he had cycled when he was a kid, and it was crazy to think. And we spoke about, we've all had bicycle injuries, you know, you have a crash and you have a fall. This man I meet in Egypt, I tell him about my broken collarbone, I tell him about my cracked skull, I tell him about my gangrene in my arm, I tell him about these stories. He says to me, you don't know a bicycle accident. He tells me he was in a bicycle accident, he fell off his bicycle, he couldn't walk. They took him to the hospital, they took one x-ray, nothing wrong with his leg. When they were taking the second x-ray, the big x-ray machine fell onto his leg and broke it. And that, he still says, is his biggest bicycling accident. And I just have to laugh how he couldn't walk for 6 months because the x-ray machine had fallen on his leg. But so many people, once they knew I loved cycling, they could see it, and I saw they loved cycling, we were best of friends.
You went through how many nations?
34 countries on the bicycle trip. 34, 20 kilometers an hour. Lovely.
What food you used to have?
So each country in Africa, each region differs tremendously because of the conditions. So places like on the west coast, coming from places like Nigeria, Benin, Togo, a lot of bushmeat, so I'd eat snakes and rats and bats sometimes, bats that were in the trees in Accra. But I also ate normal food. I mean, places there were supermarkets, of course. Africa's not only jungles that people know, you know. So when I could eat something that was maybe a piece of meat or steak from a supermarket,
properly cooked,
I would save my money too. But one thing that I really loved, and I became very much in love with, was the coffee and the different coffees on the continent. So from the west coast of Africa to the east coast in Ethiopia, coffee is a ritual. And I used to, the Moroccan coffee ceremony to the Ethiopian coffee ceremony. It is beautiful, and it's a respectful thing. And that's probably the reason also why I love coffee so much today.
Well, you use your legs to go across this circumferring African continent, and you use your arms for the mother. So what was that experience like?
Shame, you know, going around Madagascar, if you ask about Madagascar, it was special for me to be there because not many people had gone to Madagascar. So if I sat around a dinner table, even the rich people that were at this dinner table, if I said to them I went to Madagascar, no, they've all gone to New York, they've all gone to England, or they've gone to Switzerland. I saw Madagascar, and it's a special place also. The people are very poor, but the beauty of those people,
warm hearts.
It is too good to believe. I can't say the words to explain to you the good hearts. And I tell my wife sometimes, if those people were trying to make money every single day, their hearts wouldn't be as good. It's because they're not chasing money.
Yes, sir. And how the Madagascar Sea treated you?
Sure. The west coast of Madagascar was safer because it was protected on the Mozambican Channel. The east coast, it was the craziest seas. I have video footage that I took of, I landed in this little town. The chief came to me and he said to me, were you on the sea now? He said there are 2 cyclones that are hitting the country right now. So I was near a town called Sambava. He took me to where the church they had been destroyed. Half the church was taken and lifted up by this cyclone. Built out of rock and stone, that church was taken half away. I was on the sea at the time of that cyclone, also busy taking place in Madagascar. Crazy.
Oh my God,
But it's beautiful, and I caught lots of fish. I like to eat fish. So when I was catching the fish, I was so happy.
You saw some turtles also, because that area is known for turtles?
So the north, probably that northwest is most famous for the loggerhead turtles. So this table that we're at, that's about the size of some of the turtles that would come underneath.
This huge.
Monstrous. I tell people I write my book about Madagascar, and I tell them it was like a VW Beetle. You know, the old VW Beetle coming underneath me, and I couldn't believe what this was. It was a whole world. It looked so big.
Normally, you fall in love and then you propose to your girlfriend on a Sydney Harbour Bridge or Burj Khalifa or a beautiful garden in Switzerland. Mr. Riaan Manser, how can you do this to your girlfriend?
Shame. I know. You know, if your girlfriend says to you she wants to go to New York, you don't make her row there. You don't. Shame. And my wife's now, because I married her afterwards, so I did the right thing. She's a professional, she's an advocate in the high courts in Cape Town, so she didn't have to go and row to New York. She could buy her ticket to fly there. She was such a brave woman. When I saw her in difficult times on the boat and I would look in her eyes, I got strength, because many times I had to be brave, and I thought I'm a brave person. But when the seas were so big around us, and then I looked in her eyes and just saw her being brave, it made it special. And you know what? Today, we have the story, we rode to New York. Then the year after we rode to Hawaii for our honeymoon, again in the rowing boat from California. We did so many amazing things together that our bond is even more special.
Riaan, instead of suing you, she got married.
Shame, she could have sued me. You're right, sure.
And last few questions, tell me about the brilliant experience of meeting Madiba.
I tell people in our lifetime, you'll probably be able to count on your hand people that genuinely affected you by meeting me. Madiba, I still tell people, he proved that only by doing bit by bit by bit by bit throughout your entire life can you then claim to have lived a good life. Many people today want to achieve something, and we expecting people to then maybe respect us and to say, you are a great human being. You can only, towards the end of your life, get judged whether your life was so great and whether it made an impact on humanity. Mr. Mandela was one of those people. The most incredible thing, though, of meeting him was that you won't believe how humble he was. That morning, he made me the hero. He did not 1 second did he deflect the attention off me. The media would ask questions when we were in front of the media, and he deflected back on me. Media would ask again about him and how he felt about me. Deflected all back on me. It was nothing about him. Once we realize the great people who walk among us are usually the most humble.
You're right. You're right. And tell me about your charity work, because I'm amazed to read few of the things, so I would like to hear it from you.
So we have a charity called No Food for Lazy Man. It's a slogan that you have in West Africa, and what's beautiful about it is that it's almost unfair to say no food for lazy man. It sounds unfair, but if I sit with you in front of the most honest, hard-working people, they will only agree that there is no food for a lazy man. So we sit with children. Our trust supports children. We only support sporting equipment at underprivileged schools. So if you came with me to one of the schools we support in Cape Town, you'll meet those kids and they know that our charity builds them the cricket nets. It buys them cricket pads, cricket bats. It buys them new cricket balls for matches. These kids were playing matches with the ball they used the year before. You can't teach a cricket or a bowler 10-year-old how to swing a ball if you haven't got a proper new ball for him to learn from. So we buy sporting equipment, and we think we're doing more than just letting them fall in love with sport. What we're busy doing is we're making the child see the world in a different light altogether. He learns to work with people, he learns to fight with people, but he learns in the end we still have to work together as a team. If we can teach a young child that is poor that concept, we're going to make a success of his life.
Because education is no doubt very important, but sports builds or inculcate some different values
Sure.
in kids.
You and I agree 100% in that. If you look at a child who hasn't played sports, usually socially they're not as advanced as a child who maybe has. And you inculcate something different inside a child when you teach him sport. You teach him the world isn't always fair, because you go out there sometimes and you realize, why is the world sometimes a bit cruel? That is the world. You win, you lose. You win, you lose. Sport teaches you that.
Oh, brilliant. I heard some rumors, some authentic rumors, that you are having at least 4 lungs and 2 hearts. Is it true?
No, that's absolutely untrue. I get as tired as everybody. The amazing thing for me is that I do sports. If I do races here in Cape Town and I cycle in these big, we have the cycle race, the Cape Town cycle race, and people come past me and they know me from my bicycle trips. Then they say, come, we can ride faster. Then I have to say to them, whoo, no, we have to slow down. They think I'm just going to ride fast all the time. So no, 2 lungs, 1 heart. But a big heart.
But a really big one. Riaan,
thank you.
Absolute pleasure meeting you, my friend.
Please, thank you. Thank you for coming to South Africa.
No, I've been to South Africa 8 times. This is my 8th visit. But my friend, you haven't been to my country, India. So now it's your turn that you must visit India. Have you heard about India?
I have one. If you could give me one ticket to fly anywhere, and it was today, if you asked my wife what would that ticket be, she would know it would be to India. She knows it would be to India, and also she will tell you without you asking me. Her asking me, she'll also tell you that we plan to go for 2 months minimum. We can't wait to get to India.
It will be my pleasure to host you.
Shame,
and
thank you.
thoroughly enjoy.
Shame, thanks so much.
हा माणूस खरोखर कमाल आहे. यांनी जे काही करून दाखवलंय ते ऐकल्यानंतर थक्क व्हायला होतं. मला नुसतं ऐकून घाम फुटला, मला फीट आल्यासारखं झालं. परंतु या माणसाने ते करून दाखवलं आणि या माणसाला भेटणं हा खूप मोठा हे होता. सुनंदन वेले, झी24 तास, केप टाउन, साऊथ आफ्रिका.
Please, man. Thank you.
In Riaan Manser's world, a minute can feel like a lifetime. And every day could be his last.